Today we have a very special guest, Jennifer Ross Henry. I asked Jennifer to come on because first and foremost, I know that you guys like learning from amazing, dynamic leaders. Jen is somebody that I have respected for a long time. She lives in Jacksonville Beach, Florida. I've been following Jen for a long time and watching her essentially be one of the catalysts for building the locker room coaching company. And I've always looked for leaders out there that I can, one, respect, a leader that can engage people, a leader with massive integrity, passion, a leader that can adapt, and funny enough, a leader that can lead me. A strong woman, right? A leader, right? Leaders need leaders. And Jen I actually went on, one of Jen's friends called me and said, yeah, you should be a coach for the locker room. And I didn't want to do anything new. But once I met Jen, I realized, you know what? I want to be led by her. And I was in a couple of classes, I was led by her. I joined the locker room, and then something happened with my life and I had to pull back. And so I missed out a lot of that time. But the nice thing is Jen and I became friends, and she is a brokerage owner. She is a former team leader at Keller Williams. She is a coach at the locker room to brokerages. She is a cancer survivor. She's a devout Christian, an amazing mom, an amazing friend. And she also just reset her life by losing a bunch of weight and taking back her life. So Jen, hope that wasn't too vulnerable, but welcome. And we really look forward to learning from you today.
Awesome. Well, I am honored at the opportunity to come talk to you all on my favorite subject. When Tanya asked me to do this and asked me what topics were burning in my soul, I knew quickly what it was. This has been a topic of conversation with all the people that I serve, and I'm delighted to bring it to you all today. And I truly believe that what we're going to talk about today, if you will receive it with an open mind and an open heart, it can truly change your life, because it has changed mine. So thank you for that. And Tanya, I should have asked, what we have 30, 45 minutes, an hour, how long we got?
We have an hour, so we
Good.
stop at the top of the hour.
Very good. I like to be on time, get you guys out of here so you can get back to your lives. So I'm going to cram this in and be sure to leave some extra time for conversation if you guys want to, because I do have a lot to throw at you, and I would love your input and feedback when we get towards the end. So I hope you have a pen and paper handy, and I do have some slides prepared. But before we get on the slides, I do want to talk to you a little bit about what I'm going to share with you. Yes, I am a productivity coach. I'm a broker. I do a lot of these things, and they're all related to business and finances and blah, blah, metrics and tracking numbers. And all those things are good and well, and I can talk about those things. However, what I have found in my 20 years of my real estate background and in the 10 years that I've been coaching, I have found that this topic we're going to talk about today is more life transformational than anything else I'm going to talk to you guys about ever. So if you get this today at a deep level, if you will truly embrace it, it can change the course of your life. And what I'm going to talk to you about today is the process of transformation in how we think. Now, I'm going to start by saying there isn't one soul on this call today that is exempt from what I'm going to share today. I say that because when I'm teaching skills, I'm teaching business acumen, there's skill levels that different people have, and some people will have things and some people won't. There may be some people that simply don't want to do for sale by owner training, for example, or there may be people who don't have a high communication skill and scripts are not their thing, which I believe everyone can learn that. And we can learn skills, but what I'm going to share with you today is granted to every single one of you because you're human, because you have a brain, and because you have within you the power to do what I'm going to talk about today. Whether you use it or not will be up to you. And this is also a muscle. You have to build this inside of you to create true transformation in your life. So who's ready to get started? Awesome. For those of you that have your cameras on, I just want to thank you. I love cameras on because I actually look at your eyeballs. I know you can't tell where I'm looking, but I'm looking at your eyeballs and it gives me energy back. And the more I get from you, the more I can give you guys, because, on Zoom, half the energy is gone just because we're virtual. So I'm going to do my best to deliver high energy and high impact to you all today. You good with that?
Yeah. And just, I've asked people that when I bring speakers on, if they really want to be coached and connect, we don't care how you look. Put some sunglasses on, put a hat on, just show up.
Now, I think the only people that are responsible for looking good on this call are myself and Tanya, because we're leading the call. And this is as good as it's going to get. And she's gorgeous. So you guys get that. We don't care what the audience looks like. We're here to support you, love you, and impact your life. That's it.
And you are gorgeous too. That's why I ain't no dummy. I bring on good looking speakers.
Well, we're not going to show up here looking homeless. I'll tell you that much. But y'all can do what you want to do. All right. I want to talk to you guys today about how to design your life through your thoughts. And that might sound hokey. That might sound frou-frou. That might sound super extra enlightened and spiritual. Call it what you want. This is true. What I'm going to talk to you about today is spiritual. What I'm going to talk to you about today is scientific. You can combine both of those. However your brain works, from a science brain or a spiritual brain, whatever your framework is, I want to share this with you. Inside of that framework, it works for all types and all people and all human beings. So I'm going to share with you guys a little story as a kind of setup for what we're going to talk about today. As Tanya mentioned, I'm a cancer survivor. One of the most difficult things I've ever gone through in my life was stage 3 breast cancer, which this September will be 5 years from diagnosis. I'm almost at the magic 5 years. So I'm so thankful. Yes, thank you all. So the reason I share that with you is because I learned what I'm going to teach you today when I was truly fighting for my life. And I learned quickly that the way that I thought was going to either help me stay alive or kill me. And I started really learning about thought work and practicing it in my day-to-day life. And as I was learning it and becoming fascinated by really our brains and the way thoughts can design our lives, I started practicing. And I'll tell you, the very first time that I practiced it, and it changed my freaking life in an instant. I've never been the same. And it went like this. I was bald. I lost all my hair from chemo. And I was bald for about a year, and I wore hats and scarves. No big deal. I could play the cancer card. No one cared. What really started bothering me was when I took off the hats and the scarves and my hair started growing in like a white fuzz that grew in, I kid you not, like a crew cut. It grew straight up on the top and straight back on the back. I looked like a military cut. It was awful. And it grew in that way. And I was like that for like a couple of months, y'all. And I remember the day that I decided to stop wearing my hats. And I was doing this thought work and I was getting ready for church. And I was putting on my makeup in the mirror. And I felt an overwhelming sense of sadness wash over my body. And I know we've all experienced that. I'm looking at those of you that have your cameras on. Have you ever just had a sadness kind of just wash over you? Just kind of a feeling, and you're like, where did that come from? And you're just like, well, I'm just having a bad day. I just don't feel good. I'm just in a bad mood. And I felt that wash over me. But because I had been doing this thought work and because I had decided to become a witness to myself, I asked myself, what did I just think that made me feel sad? Because this is the work we're going to talk about today. That's the very big question. What did I just think that made me feel this way? And that's a key question you guys are going to write down. And what was fascinating to me, friends, was that when I did a micro rewind in my brain, I actually heard myself say in the mirror, you look like a boy. I heard myself say it. And I hadn't been conscious. It was not a conscious thought. It was a just lightning bolt of thought that went straight to negative feelings. And it was in that moment that I said, I don't like how I feel. I don't like that thought. It doesn't have to be real. It doesn't have to be my truth. And so I said, all right, Jen, that's how I talk to myself. All right, girl, Jen, if you were going to think something else right now about you, this hairstyle you got going on, what would it be? And how could you think differently about it? So I sat for a moment with myself and I thought a thought, and it was this: you're going to rock this boy look as long as you have it. And guys, that was a moment of transformation in my brain. The sadness, the bad feelings dissipated in an instant, and what replaced it was a feeling of pride, empowerment, satisfaction. I was able to transform my feelings by changing my thought. Now, that changed everything that day, because let me tell you, the old me in the negative, bad mood place would have gone to church, probably would have been ugly to my husband because he would have tried to say I was pretty, and I would have been like, you're just saying that. And then we would have had like this little blah, blah, blah. And then I would have gone to church. I would have sat in the back row and left as soon as possible because I don't want anybody to talk to me. Can you guys relate to this, where you just have a day, you don't want anybody to talk to you? Bleh. Ruins your whole day, ruins the relationships, people around you, over time, ruins your reputation. You become known as a negative Nelly. People don't want to hang around you. I'm not talking about any of you guys, but I'm saying like that can happen when you do that enough times. However, that day, that sense of empowerment that washed over me caused me to square back my shoulders, put on my makeup, some really great earrings, and go to church and walk in with pride and talk to everybody and receive the compliments that I got about how cute my hair looked. You guys get the point. I was able to receive those compliments. I didn't blame my husband. I didn't get upset with him because he was trying to help me. I literally I embraced what was going on simply by one change of a statement in my brain. That is the power of our thoughts. Now, I have been able to do that time and time and time and time again about all kinds of different things in my life, not just my physical appearance. I've been able to do it about my business, my relationships, my diet, my weight loss that I just did, about my company, about my agents, everything. Nothing is exempt from this amazing power that we all contain within ourselves. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So I want to present to you what I like to call the thinking loop. Let me get my screen ready here for you guys, because this is where the magic starts to really happen. By the way, none of this material is mine. I have collected this material over the years with different trainings and teachings and things that I have studied, and I've kind of compiled it into my own version of a presentation. But the truth is, this, I said earlier, this is science. This is science and this is biblical. So you can find this stuff in the Bible. There are Bible verses that speak to what you think about is where your heart goes, and your heart grows from your life grows from the wellspring of your mind. Like, guys, this is not something I've made up. This is not my discovery. I'm just practicing it and delivering it to you in my own words today. I call this the thinking loop. What do I mean by the thinking loop? I mean that for every emotion that you experience, whether you're a man or a woman, whether it's a negative or a positive, whatever emotions you experience in any given day do not just appear in your body. Emotions come from your brain. Your feelings are coming from a place, you're creating them. They are not happening to you. And it's happening so fast and so habitually that you don't even question it from one moment to the other, because we are doing our lives at a very fast pace and our brains operate at lightning speed. But the truth of the matter is, if you were to slow down the whole process of thought, emotion, and action, feelings, and everything involved, you could see an actual process that actually happens inside of your brain. That's what I'm going to show you today. So let me show you what this looks like. First things first, we have a circumstance that happens. Let me get rid of let's move our faces. There we go. We have a circumstance, a thing that happens. Circumstances are usually outside of our control. It happens outside of our being. And usually when something happens, most people who do not interrogate their lives at a deep level will say, that made me feel, insert the name of the emotion here. Sad, happy, defeated, guilty, shameful, whatever the emotion is. If something happens, people say it made me feel a kind of way. What we're forgetting, my friends, is it did not make you feel that way. You know how I know it didn't make you feel that way? Because the same circumstance that happened to you made you feel that way. The same thing could happen to someone else and makes them feel a different way. So the circumstance has zero power. And so your feeling that you created came first from your thought. So what happens is you have a circumstance and you have a thought around it, an lightning bolt fast thought, so fast that you didn't even hear it. Mine, in my case, was you look like a boy. so fast. And if you don't slow down your thoughts and become a witness to them, and if you believe that your feelings are your truth, you won't hear the thought. So you got to slow this down and first step outside of the feeling and say, all right, I'm feeling sad. What thought did I have that made me feel sad? Boom. Now you can identify what got you there, and you can take ownership of the emotion you're experiencing. By the way, guys, feelings, I'm no scientist, I'm no doctor, but feelings, from what I've studied, are nothing more than chemical reactions from our brain. Emotions are chemical reactions that our brain is sending into our bodies. Feelings are not reality. So we got to know that. On the days that you're defeated about your business, the days that you feel scared and fear, you got to look at those and recognize it is not the feeling that is the truth. The truth that you're living behind is the thought that created the feeling. And that is where the true magic happens. And that is where you can start to change your life. But let's go ahead and finish the loop. You have a thought, lightning bolt thought, you don't even hear it, but it immediately creates a feeling. We identify with the feeling because that's what we're used to. We're used to the feeling. Okay, we get a feeling. Typically speaking, when you have a feeling, let me move our faces again so I can see what I'm doing here with y'all. Typically, when you have, whoops, let me go back here. When you have a feeling, the next thing that happens is you will take an action or an inaction, one or the other. Either you do something or you avoid doing something. If you're feeling scared about lead generating, you won't lead generate. That's an inaction. If you're feeling scared about lead generating, you might go to the beach or to the pool instead because you're feeling this way, and the feeling will dictate what you do. Now, once you do that action, it will result in the result of your life. And I just noticed it says 5 and not 4. So those math people that are in here getting annoyed with that, I apologize. That says 5. It should be 4. So what we're finding, guys, is that when you do things, the action that you do will create results over and over. And you do these things enough and you start getting built up results, it starts becoming your life. And what's interesting about accumulated results is they do tend to influence circumstances. So we come full circle. All right, I'm gonna demonstrate this in real life time for you in just a moment, but let's keep moving. What I want to do is break down all the points of this circle. I want to break them down for you so that you guys can truly see, really understand what we're talking about. Okay, first of all, I want to talk about circumstances. I already mentioned it to you. Typically, they're outside of our control. Typically, they're neutral. I have a picture of the rain here because I want to use the rain as an example. For some people, when it rains, it's an awesome day because they don't have to water their crops. For other people, when it rains, it ruined their wedding. The rain doesn't cause the feeling. I just want to make sure we all realize it's not the rain that creates the feeling. It's our thought around the rain that creates the feelings. We also cannot control circumstances. We have to let go of the idea that we can control that. So circumstances are what they are. Not one single one of us gets off this planet without circumstances happening to us that are outside of our control. Okay, so let's be very clear. This is the part where most of us try to control, and we get angry and anxious or depressed about this when we can't control it, when we really never could. Control is an absolute illusion. It doesn't exist. There is only one thing we can control, and that is our thoughts. So let's go next to, Byron Katie says, circumstances are reality. And when you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. So why do we argue with reality? Why do we get upset about things we can't control? Well, because we're trying to change the way we feel without realizing that the real power isn't in changing the circumstance. The real power is in changing our thought about the circumstance. So let's keep going, because the next point on the thinking thought loop is thought. It's the PowerPoint. It's the one first thing you can control. Now, in order for you to begin to be a master of your thoughts and to do what we call thought work, you do have to be a witness to them. You have to separate yourself from them and say, let me hear myself think. They are completely within your control, and they are optional. You don't have to think a kind of way about anything. Now, this is the part where you might be going, but Jen, that's my truth. Okay, if you want to have a thought about something and you want to call it your truth, that is within your rights. But my question always comes back to, if that truth is serving you, keep it. If it is not, change it. I like to say, if that's what I think, great, but is that useful? Maybe it isn't useful to think that way. We're going to show some examples of this in just a moment. Thoughts do cause feelings. Thoughts is your brain's permission to create a chemical reaction so that your body can create an emotion, so that your body will go do or not do what it is that your thought created. By the way, thoughts are the language of our brain. And interestingly and fascinating to me is that 90% of our thoughts are habitual. There are only 10% of your thoughts in any given day, scientifically, that are new original thoughts. Our brain is wired to put you on rinse and repeat. It's safer that way. Our brains are primal. The brain is intending to keep you safe. The way the brain keeps you safe is creating predictable patterns in your brain. 90% of our thoughts are habits. So no wonder they feel like your truth. But again, are they helpful? Are they serving you? So there's the power of your thoughts. Now let's go to the next point on the loop. Oh, first of all, a little quote. Change your thoughts, change your world. That's what we're talking about today. Let's go to feelings. Oh, feelings. They are not your reality. This is where you have to stop. Feelings are what dictate most people. Feelings are what drive us to do things we do or not do, the things we should do or think we should do. They are the effect of the mind experienced in the body. The feeling is the first place of the mind-body connection. Feelings. The day that we recognize that our feelings are false or they aren't reality is the day we begin to master ourselves. Feelings are only caused by thought. They also reveal the nature of your predominant thought. So if you are walking around categorically and systematically sad, and I'm, by the way, not talking about chemical depression or anything here, guys, I'm talking about controllable feelings. If you are walking around as a sad person, a guilty person, a shamed person, anything negative, and that is your habitual feeling, then I have to question, what is your habitual thought? Because that is what is creating that feeling you don't like. You can control, you can manage, and you can absolutely change your feelings. Feelings are not your reality, and we should not let them be our guiding light. Because if they were, if feelings were your guiding light, then all you'll do is stay safe. Forever and ever and ever, you'll stay in your cocoon, you'll stay safe, because that's what our feelings were designed to do, keep us safe. Let's keep moving. Travis Bradbury says, emotional intelligence is your ability to use this awareness to manage your behaviors and relationships. If you haven't learned yet how to manage your behavior and your relationships, consequently, then your job, your work is this thought work. It is enhancing your emotional intelligence and becoming hyper aware of your feelings and where they're coming from. Guys, this is possible for every single one of us. Not one of you is exempt. Let's talk about action next on the loop. No amount of action will make up for negative thinking. Taking aligned and thoughtful action based upon newly created thoughts is the only way you can transcend circumstance. You have to change your action in order for change to occur in your life. If you're not happy with the results of your life, you got to go backwards on this loop. What actions are you taking or not taking? What feeling is causing you to take those actions, and what thought is giving you that feeling? Guys, this goes both ways. You can go counterclockwise and clockwise around this loop. You can start at any point. This is where the design work gets to happen, and you get to take control of the reins. You can go out all day long and do things that you think you should do, but if you have negative thinking, there's a good likelihood it's not going to get you anywhere, because the negative thinking will override those actions eventually. So action is boots on the ground, actually doing what your feelings are saying to go do. TD Jakes says, your words will tell people what you think. Your actions will tell them what you believe because they're connected. Now you see this. You can tell people all day long, I'm a top producer. I'm wonderful. I do everything I'm supposed to do. But if your results, if your actions don't align, that's telling people truly what's going on inside of you. Keeping it moving. The results are the last point in the loop. Results are created by thought. If you go follow the circle all the way around, the results that you have in your life started with a thought. I'm talking about every result you have today. Whoever makes up you, your weight, your money in your bank account, your pending transactions, your relationships, any results that make up the person of you in this exact snapshot of time came from an original thought some time ago. Could have been yesterday, could have been 10 years ago, could have been from birth, could have been your childhood. Whatever the case is, the results of your life are created initially by thought. Your results are within control for change as a byproduct of the action taken. You can't change your results by snapping your fingers. You actually have to do different things. And the beautiful thing about results is they are a catalyst for new circumstances. So remember earlier when I said you can't control your circumstances? I lied. There is only one way you can control your circumstances. You control them by changing your results, because over time, different results create a different world for you. When you do things differently long enough and you begin to get different results, you change your relationships, you change the world that you're in. Everything begins to change with you. And this, my friends, is transformation. That's what transformation is. Life transformation. If you've ever met someone who you knew 10 years ago and you met them and they're a totally different person now, and you're like, wow, you're really different. It's very likely that subconsciously they have done something in this life work and thought work and changed the results of their lives positively or negatively, because it can go both ways. And they've changed who they are. I've changed 100% who I am. If you had met me, I'm even going to say 5 years ago, before I started this thought work, you would say that I'm a different person. If you had met me 10 years ago, you would say, wow, Jen, you're not even the same person. And some of that is just maturity. I know we can all experience that over time. I'm 47 years old. There's a certain maturity that starts happening, I would hope, at some point in our 30s and 40s and 50s. I'm on the journey for it. I'm here for it. But a lot of it has been defined by me, decided by me, and intentionally created by me. Some of it, still not, working on it, never there. We're never there. So what I'd like to do, let's talk about this. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he says, you can have results or you can have excuses, but you can't have both. So when it comes to the activities that we need to be doing in our daily lives, we can either get the results we want, or we can look back on a handful of excuses we've used on rinse and repeat. They're stale, they're old, we're tired of them, but they work for you, me, you, us. They work, they keep us safe, but we hate them. It's a love-hate relationship with these dang excuses, right? But you can't have both, guys. If you want new results, you've got to have different excuses or different thoughts, and excuses are nothing but thoughts. But you don't get both, guys. You don't get negative thinking and the real estate career of your dreams. It don't happen. I don't know a soul that has done that. Let's keep it moving. Let's put this into real live action. I'm going to show this to you guys, and we're going to go through this a couple of times. And then, like I said, I'm going to open it up. I would hope to open it up at about 15 minutes from now for questions and comments. But we're going to take a circumstance and we're going to go through the process. I'm going to show you what this looks like in practical real life. Now, notice that I said the circumstance is an unclean house. Okay. The reason I said unclean is because circumstances are neutral. If I had said a dirty house, there's a negative spin on that circumstance. I'm taking a neutral situation, an unclean house, a house that has not been cleaned. You might call something dirty and I call it clean, and vice versa. That's why I'm not putting labels on this. Circumstances are neutral. Rain is neutral. It is not good. It is not bad. An unclean house, not good, not bad, neutral. But we're going to start with a negative thought. So we're going to start right here. So You have an unclean house. The thought you could have, again, lightning bolt thought, you don't even hear it, is I have got to get a grip. I can't even keep my own house clean. That creates anger, embarrassment, frustration, and resentment. Again, so fast. You're driving home and you're like, my house is dirty. Oh, I'm so mad. Why don't the kids clean up this house? I am so embarrassed. I cannot have the neighbors over tonight. I don't know when I'm going to get. You never even realized you had the thought. The action that you take from feeling angry, embarrassed, frustrated, and resentful is I clean up the house while I beat myself up. I can't even believe I'm having to do this. I'm going to clean it. It's annoying to me that I'm the one that, or you do nothing. You just don't clean it because you're resentful and you're like, let them clean it. Whatever the case may be, you take an action that's not conducive to your life. And the result you get is a cleaner house with a sense of defeat. Now, once you have a clean house with a sense of defeat, once you start living your life with a sense of defeat, does that create an environment to keep a house clean? No. What it's going to do is bring you back to an unclean house. So this is how we create our own circumstances, by manifesting them, by living this out on rinse and repeat day after day. Again, this is one example. I've got several to show you. So let's go to the next one. Actually, what we're going to do here is we're going to flip this on its head. We're going to have an alternative thought that could create a different result and in turn, different life. Let's look at it. Same unclean house, nothing changed. You're driving home. You remember that your house has not been cleaned. You have a thought, I have time to clean my house now and I'm good at it. Again, these are quirky little thoughts. Everybody's going to have different ones, but nonetheless, work with me here. That feeling that would come from that thought is energized and confident. When you're energized and confident, you clean the house while listening to music, leading to a clean house and appreciation for your work. Once you have a clean house and you appreciate your work, the result is that you're going to look forward to cleaning the house again. And once you look forward to cleaning the house again, you start not having as unclean of a house as often. You guys following me here? Everybody getting what I'm doing? I'm looking for head nods. Okay, good. So let's take this to another level. Let's do another one. This is a big one. I work in my health coaching business. I work with a lot of people that want to get their health under control. And so in this case, the circumstance is this person's weight is 100 pounds above normal. Notice I didn't say fat. I didn't say skinny. I didn't say overweight, underweight, because they have a connotation. They have a story already attached to them. I'm trying to keep this neutral. This person's weight is 100 pounds above their normal. Okay. We haven't attached a negative story to it because that's what we're trying to process here. The negative thought is I will always have a weight issue. That leads to the brain thinks it, the body says, well, let's send him feelings of defeat and sadness, because we create our own thoughts. Our own feelings. Defeated and sad. The action that comes from that is never to go out and work out and eat right. No, it's to not exercise and eat mindlessly or compulsively, because the thought is, I'm going to always have a weight issue. I'm defeated. I'm sad. I'm going to eat. In doing this on day after day, after day, after year, after decade, you gain or maintain the weight. Nothing changes. And in doing so, your weight remains 100 pounds above normal. You see, we create the circumstance. So if we were to switch this out and have an alternative thought, one of them that I read in a book that I thought was such a great thought was, my body is wise. And without me interfering, we'll do what it is supposed to do. We release this defeated, sad, pity party story we have about ourselves. And in doing so, we create trust, relaxation, self-love, and hope. Done over time, the action taken from trust, self-love, and hope is exercise and eat when my body says to and stop when it says to. As a result of that, you become healthier, you become leaner, your body adapts to the new actions you're taking. And in doing so, your weight goes to the normal range that you are at, this theoretical person, and you change your circumstance over time. Guys, this is, again, slowed down so slow, but this is so within the realm of possibility in your life on a daily, moment by moment basis at the times of your choosing. Let's talk about another one. You're not hitting your production goals. Oof, now I'm talking to some realtors in the house. The negative thought is, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm too new. Or maybe you've been in the business a long time and you're like, I've been doing this too long. I mean, interject your own negative thought here. We all have plenty to choose from. Let's take the one we want, the one that's most dominant. What feeling does the body create from that thought? Defeat, frustration. When you are a defeated, frustrated person, you will procrastinate and you will show up weak. You will show up embarrassed. You won't show up strong. And when you show up weak and when you procrastinate and when you dilly-dally and when you make excuses, you have low production. You have no production. So guess what? We're just reinforcing the circumstance that you're not hitting your production goals. So guess what? There's hope, my friends, because you're a human and you were given a brain that is superior to animals, and you get to decide how this goes. And so let's alternate the thought. This is a long game. Consistency compounds. Imagine that is your affirmation every day. This is a long game. Consistency compounds.
Jen, can you go back to the other slide
Yes,
real quick and then?
Hold on.
Thank you.
There we go. How's that?
Okay, go forward. Thank you.
Got it? Okay. Keeping it moving? Yeah, we're good. All right. The alternative thought is this is a long game. Consistency compounds, making that your daily affirmation. In doing so, you create trust, relaxation, and hope for your business. And when you show up to your business, trusting, relaxed, and hopeful, every day, you will show up with a positive attitude. And I have a quote that I say about real estate, actually about any entrepreneurial endeavor, and it is this: you will be paid in direct proportion to the energy and passion with which you show up to your career. You don't have energy, you don't have passion, you're going to get paid nothing or very little. You have energy, you have passion, you're going to get paid better. So if you're showing up with a positive attitude, you're going to get more business. I promise you, because consistency compounds. It may not happen day one. So don't do this one time and be like, didn't work for me. You have to do this over and over and over again. This is work. This is your work. Before anything else, this is your work. You have the job of being a mindset ninja. That is your first job. Once you have that where it needs to be, then and only then do you take the actions necessary to create the results you want in your life. And when you create more business for yourself, you will change your circumstance. You will begin to hit your goals. You will begin to see your life change. Now, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I have a couple more things to say before I want to open it up to you guys. One of the things I've learned in teaching this and practicing this over the years is that at first, when you start practicing new thoughts, your brain is going to do a complete and total freak out. It's going to say, you're lying. Your brain is like, no. That's not where we're going. We're going over here to this path in the brain that we already know. Please, let's keep on this path. I know where this path goes. This is a predictable path. It's easier to get from neuron A to neuron B. Let's do this. Let's stay over here. Yes, I'll give you sadness because I can predict that. And sadness at some point has given you something you needed. So let's just go there. Your brain is going to fight this with everything in your being because you are creating new pathways in your brain that your brain doesn't quite understand yet. But you're not a dog. You're not a cat. You're a human being with the ability to say, I am the master of my thoughts. I control what I decide to believe. And brain, we're going over here. I'm going to rock this boy look as long as I have it. And again, I'll say it. The brain is going to say, you're lying. That's not true. That is your brain's way of keeping you safe. You have to defeat that. You have to be the master of it. And you can, and you will see change immediately. I have an example I want to give you. I just taught this to one of my coaching clients about 2 weeks ago. She's very frustrated with her husband. They're at odds right now. They don't want a divorce. They just aren't happy together. And I don't know her husband. And even if I did, we can't change him. He's a circumstance. He's got his own journey. He's on his path. We can't change him. Can we all agree we can't change that husband? Okay. You can't change yours either, or your wife, or whoever in your life. You can't change them. So if you can't change them and you don't want to leave them and you want to stay and you want to be happy, or what do you got to do? Change you. Yeah, it doesn't seem fair, but that's what we're working with. And guess what? I think it's fair because I would rather have control over change than wait for somebody else to change. So I gave her an assignment. I said, I want you the next time he triggers you, which I'm always leery of that word because nobody really triggers you. Your thoughts trigger you. The next time he triggers you, I want you to do a micro rewind and I want you to change the thought and I want you to see what happens. That same day, she was getting ready for work. Actually, no, she was getting ready for the gym and she was going to meet him there and he left before her. And he texted her and said, don't forget to close the garage door. And she said her initial habitual thought was, he thinks I'm an idiot. She did a micro rewind because she got instantly mad. She did a micro rewind. What did I just think? And she thought, he thinks I'm dumb, which she said she discovered is kind of her, now that she's done this a few weeks, it's what her brain goes to. That's the story her brain has told her. They think I'm dumb. He thinks I'm dumb. That's her story that she's identified as a driving truth that she's been operating from. He thinks I'm dumb. And she said, that made me feel angry. And had I acted on that, I would have shown up at the gym and I would have been snarky to him like, yeah, duh, I know I'm supposed to close the door. But you guys want to hear the other side of this? What really happened? Here's what really happened. He said, don't forget to close the garage door. And she stopped herself because she's developing her emotional maturity. And she recognized as a witness to herself that she could change this. And she said, the thought that I attached to was, I'm so thankful that he cares about the safety of our family. And she said instantly she felt love and appreciation for her husband. And instantly the other feelings dissipated. She went to the gym and she had a great workout with her husband and she didn't wreck the day by being snarky. It's a simple little action that makes massive results when compounded over time, you guys. And you can take this and adapt it to any area of suffering in your life, any area you're not happy with, your health, your relationships, your money, whatever you're unhappy with, whatever is unhealthy, whatever is suffering. Suffering is an indication that something needs to change. And guys, you can't change the circumstance. So rewind. How are you thinking about the situation and how could you think differently about it? Even though your brain says, back it up, that's a lie. So here's my way to overcome the brain's protective measures. When you have your replacement thought, I want you to think of something that you can truly get behind. This is where I don't like affirmations because affirmations tend to be kind of BS to the brain. In a case of me looking at myself in the mirror and saying I look like a boy, I could have pulled an affirmation out of the book that said, you are the most beautiful woman on the planet. And my brain and me would have been like, nah, can't get behind that one. I can't. That's just too far. That's too big for my brain. I'm going to pick something that I can feasibly grab onto and I can believe. And that one for me was, I'm going to rock this boy look as long as I have it. I could get behind that. I can believe that. I can stand in that and say that can be my truth. So whatever thought you need, make it one that's attainable to your brain to be able to say, okay, we can do that. Now, here's the other thing I'll tell you. One of the things I've learned is I can't create the thought for you. I've tried to help my clients with a thought. And what I've realized is if it doesn't come from your brain, it's not going to stick. Your brain has to create it. Your brain has to be the one to search for it. That is the way you expand your emotional intelligence. It cannot come from someone else. Your brain has to seek it out, find it, cling to it, change it, switch it. Neuroplasticity is what it's called. It's called a rewiring. Your brain has to do it. And when your brain does it, it sticks. If I do it, it gives you temporary reprieve, but you have to cling to it. You have to believe it. And that is the inside job that all of us have. That is so deeply personal, but so deeply transformational when you really do it. Guys, I could talk about this literally all day long. As you can tell, I'm very passionate about this. I do coach, productivity coaching. Like I said in the beginning, I coach people on activities and things and systems they need to create, But when they have stinking thinking, there's not a whole lot I can do, because all they're doing is taking action that cannot be overcome by negative thinking. So I start here with everybody. And until my clients get this at a high level and have practiced it to the point where we can speak it and we can do it, we don't move on, because this is the work. This is it. For some people, this is the work for their lives. And for me, this will be an ongoing journey the rest of my life. But it's a beautiful journey. And it's one I'm thankful for as a human being. I'm glad that I've learned it. So that is my presentation. I would love it if I turn it back over to Tanya or you guys for questions, thoughts, make them positive. No.
Thank you so much. This is exactly what I needed. I knew it, right? I love what you said when you said you are when you are defeated, and if you are a defeated and frustrated person, you will show up weak. I loved that. That was so powerful. What I do know, Jen, is there's a lot of people here that are dealing with circumstantial stuff. Okay. And coaching people through it. We all have circumstances. We all have life, which is what you said, we can't control our circumstances. I know the agents here are thinking that need this. Raise your hand if you needed this. Raise your hand if you needed this. Anybody? Right. I liked the loop. I liked, for example, like when I am getting triggered, I'm constantly triggered. And even as a coach, it's, here's the vulnerability in saying that, I'm triggered because I was in a defense mode as a child because I was never safe, having parents that were meth addicts and abusive and all that. I was always on like is it called hypervigilant? Right. So anytime someone comes at me, I'm like triggered. Right. And then I have turned it into, sometimes when I'm triggered, I'll go, I'm patient, loving, and gentle. I'm patient, loving, and gentle. Once you start hearing that out of my mind, you're like, I might have to hurt you in a minute, but I'm actually trying to change my thought process.
Right.
Like anytime I said that to my kids, they were like, she's about to kill us.
Better move on out of here. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But for example, I'm going to call on some people that I feel can kind of relate to what you're saying, and then anyone pop in. Brittany Wynn. Brittany's here. Brittany's been a coaching client of mine, and she's actually an EXP now as well. One of my favorite people. She also had a journey with breast cancer and that kind of thing. And Brittany, what has Jen said that kind of resonated with you and how you're going to change your thoughts?
Hello. You might hear my water fountain, so sorry if you guys hear that in the background. I have a ton of notes, so a lot of things definitely resonated with me. I have not been in a super good place, probably the last year. Everything possible could have gone wrong in my life, and it did. And I had a prophylactic double mastectomy in November of last year, and that messed with me emotionally a lot more than I thought it was going to. So I feel like I'm starting this whole, I really like how you called it thought work. That definitely stood out to me. I had a question for you though. How did you stay consistent with your whole thought work process? I find myself some weeks I'll be doing really, really good and I'm going, and then the next week I'm I just crash. And then I feel like I have to start completely over again.
That's a great question. The ease with which we do this is directly tied to our nutrition, to our sleep, to our emotional energy. If you're emotionally drained, this is hard to do. If you're physically fatigued, this is hard to do. If you're mentally drained, this is hard to do. If you're spiritually disconnected, This is hard to do, and stay consistent. So Brittany, to the degree that you can, it's about creating wholeness in your whole life to give you the best landscape to practice this on. Okay. It isn't always going to be perfect, and you're going to struggle because you're a human being. And so when you're in those moments when this is harder and you can't find it quite as easily, that's where you put an expiration date on. You're like, look, this is what I do anyway. I'm like, I'm feeling this kind of way. I can't talk myself through it. I can't get myself through it. I'm going to put an expiration date on it. Tomorrow morning when I wake up, it's going to be gone. And lo and behold, I wake up in the morning and I feel a new sense of empowerment to take control again. So look at your whole life. You know, we aren't just emotional beings. We are physical, spiritual, mental beings. We're all connected. And so if any of those areas are out of whack, it's going to create a different landscape for you to practice this on. So set yourself up for success and do your best to get the right nutrition, the right hydration, the right sleep. Make sure you're surrounding yourself with positive people. Make sure mentally that you are planning and preparing your life well. And whatever your spiritual connection is, foster that. If you can do those things, you will find this is easier to do on a daily basis, consistently. I hope that answered your question. And I am sorry to hear about your journey. I've been there 100%. I'm still on that journey 5 years later, almost. It doesn't stop, but there's a new way of looking at it. It's the only way we can control it.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're so welcome. I wish the best for you and your journey forward.
Thank you.
Jen, can you talk about how, because you talked about that, right? If you're spiritually disconnected, emotionally, mentally spent, can you talk about how your tribe and your environment and the people that you're around really affect where you're at with this and this concept?
Absolutely. What's been really fascinating to me in coaching, especially women, sorry about my guys, I'm sure it applies to you. I just have more like case studies with women.
Chris is really good with women.
Okay, good. I love it. Well, this applies to all of us.
Ask his ex-wife, but
yeah. Well, you know, everybody's got their journey, right? But I have found that I can be coaching a rock star of a woman who is capable of making $1 million, but she's in a bad relationship and she doesn't do anything because of the relationship. So what I found is that, again, emotional, mental, physical, spiritual, and financial are the 5 energy types that make us whole. And when one of them, like your emotions, is tanked, you're completely empty. And so to answer your question, we are a vessel. All of us are a vessel of energy. And the people that you're around are sharing energy with you. There is no neutrality with people. They're either giving it to you or they're taking it from you. So if you leave a lunch with a friend and you feel better than when you came to the lunch, you exchanged energy in a positive. You walked out fuller, if you will. However, you've got those friends who just drain the hell out of you, and you leave a lunch and you're like, I don't think I can talk to her for another month. You know the type. Your customers, how are they draining you or filling you? So here's the deal. I am not suggesting that you go cut off all your friends and get a divorce because they drain you. What I am suggesting is this really magical word called boundaries. Boundaries. Boundaries are where you get to decide what kind of energy you're willing to give and what kind of energy you're willing to be taken from you. So whole other topic, boundaries, but that's really where it's at. And so really think about the people in your life that when you're with them, even a phone call or a text message from them gives you a jolt of energy. It makes you feel better about your life, makes you feel better about who you are. Those are the people that you want to surround yourself with. Just make sure that you're not being the drain. Okay. Make sure you're not one of those people who's just sucking them dry. And if you are sucking people dry of energy, like for example, if you're going to a lunch and you're unburdening yourself to them, make sure that you have planned to give something back to them. It's got to be an even exchange. Otherwise you start wearing out your friends and they start avoiding you. And then you start having bad thoughts about who you are as a person and who you are as a friend. We don't want that. So just be mindful of your emotional impact on others. Be mindful of the emotional impact they have on you and be intentional about those. And if there's a friend who is truly just doesn't help you feel better in your life and makes you feel worse, not makes you feel, but you guys, I'm using lingo that we all understand. Just there's wisdom in that. You leave a lunch, you leave a dinner, you leave an engagement with someone and you don't feel as good, there's wisdom in it, listen to it, and vice versa.
I love that. You know what I say is put people on a shelf. Like you don't have to 86 them, but what you can do is you can put them on a shelf until you're ready to go back to them and they're in a good energy space or you're in a good energy space. Because they talk about, I heard a coach say there's 2 C's. There's people either contribute to your life or contaminate your life. And it can't be both. You have to figure out which one is it. And the ones that are contaminating, put them on a shelf, or they might actually have to be 86th.
Well, and I'll also say this, and this is, if you're building a business, you have no choice but to really evaluate this. And it is this, some people, you might feel like they're contributing to you because they're agreeing with your BS. And what they're actually doing is contaminating you. You done this in my life where I've had friends that are supporting me, but what they're doing is giving me a space to be negative all the freaking time. And I go there to be negative and I don't feel better. Nothing's changing. Nothing's getting better. So I've had to learn that people that tolerate my negative thinking and negative output are not really my friends. My good friends will say, yeah, you're in a bad place. Let's talk it out. But they will have inspiration and hope to bring me to a new place. They will challenge me when it's been 3 weeks and I'm still talking about the same BS. They'll challenge me. That is a friend that will be in the trenches with you, but while also contributing to your life and not contaminating you. Okay. So be mindful of that as well. Did I strike a nerve with y'all?
No.
Y'all, are you going through the Rolodex of friends you have right now going, check mark, check.
Bye, girl.
Yeah. Well, I'm taking delete, whatever. I'm not saying don't be an a-hole about this, guys, but just be mindful. Create a priority of your best self. And I know that's cliche, but making yourself a priority, when you really begin to do that, you will start realizing that you can't afford to really be around those people. It isn't even about whether you feel good or not. It's like, it will affect your bottom line at the end of the day. But I bet all of you guys have some awesome people because you're in this circle, right, Tanya?
Yes. Everybody here is amazing. Everybody here is fully capable of reaching their full potential. They're capable of influencing and attracting new business. It's just about their thinking and that loop that you're talking about.
Right. Well, practically speaking, everyone, what would, if you really want to practically take something away from today, your homework, if you will. Some of you will do this, some of you won't. I would get a notebook and I would write circumstance, thought, feelings, action, results as a template. And every time you experience a negative emotion, I would name it at the feeling line and I would work this loop. I would write it out. And then I would turn the page and I would write out how you want it to go. That is the
circumstance, thoughts, feelings, results, emotions.
Yep. The emotions are the feelings. So it's circumstance, thought, feeling, action, results. You can work this model anywhere along that line. You can start it at results. You can start it at circumstance. You can do whatever you want. The point is you get to design it. So write out the reality of where you're at now and then turn the page and write out the design of what you want it to be. And then act upon that.
I'm going to plaster that.
What's
like
that?
Right above my PC monitor. I'm going to plaster that in bright colors.
Right
because
idea.
wow, what you just said today, one, I needed to hear it. And wow, it's mind blowing how you don't think about this that way. The loop is so, you can see it. I can see it. And I've experienced every little bit that you mentioned today. And I'm happy for you and the young lady, I forgot her name. I'm sorry, Brittany, who overcome so much. I'm so proud of you guys and so impressed by everything you guys talked about today. And you, Jen, thank you so much. I did grow up with a lot of the scarcity mindset. So I have to continuously tell myself, you're worth it. I'm sorry about that. You can achieve more. You don't have to stay here. You can actually go here. And I am about the only one in my family that broke out of the cycle. And it is very difficult when you have the other little crabs in the bucket pulling you down. So it's very difficult to do, but it's an everyday effort.
It's literally a spiritual practice or a scientific practice, whatever your belief system is. It's a practice. And you know what, Haley, I don't know you at all, but I'll bet you've overcome a lot too.
I haven't. I haven't. I'm sorry. That's my daughter's name, Haley. She changes my, actually Dee Dee. And I'm sorry, I didn't get the chance to change it.
That's okay.
I'm Dee Dee. And you know, but now that you mentioned Haley, she observes how I handle these things too. So it's very important if we have children that are near. So she's connected at my hip all the time. She learns from my actions, and it's ever since I've had her, it's compounded. I have to actually do it even more so. Because like you mentioned, the friends that are kind of like contaminators, how do you handle those friends? She's watching me how I handle them too. So I can't just disregard them, because I could be the one person who can be a lifeline for them, but at the same time, not so much that it drags me down, you know, and drowns me too. So I can
and if
be
it does,
a lifeline without drowning.
Well, and if you do find yourself drowning, you have to take responsibility for that. And you have to be the one to get your lifeline. I mean, you can't blame the friends. We can't blame the circumstances. We go back to owning fully where we're at and our results. We have to own them fully. And that is where the true power is. That's where the true power is. And yes, we are the example to our children.
Love it. Well, Jen, it's 11 o'clock, 11:01. Thank you so much. And I would love to have you on again.
I would love to be here. I got lots to talk about that I love to share, that's in my heart, burning in my soul. So yes.
I love it. You guys, Jen's in Jacksonville. I don't think that I mentioned that. She's in Jacksonville, Florida. So if you're ever there, visit her. If you have referrals, send them to her. Just keep that in mind.
Thank you. Yes. Appreciate every single one of you guys for your attention today. I hope that you'll use this and go change your life.
Thanks, Jen. Have a good day. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Thank you.